What are you doing with my dress?
Oh, it's for a 10-minute testing. Deck is Dragonmaid, so I thought I'd, dress up like a sexy woman, shake them around a little, something like that.
No.
Why not?
Not with one of my dresses.
This is pretty bigoted of you during Pride Month.
No, it's not that I don't want you to wear a dress. It's just you'll stretch it all out with your poppin' ass.
That's a good point. Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. We are just about done chugging through the stamped collection in Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem. Orchist and Punk are already accounted for, and that leaves just one. The deck you've all claimed was big in Japan since its first print, but has yet to impress stateside. Well, maybe some more sexy dragon ladies is all that was missing. Presenting Dragonmaid.
Having a good morning, Miss Kobayashi?
So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is a one-stop shop for all things Yu-Gi-Oh! They're responsible for the pack opener that makes series-like progression possible. They've got strategy articles for those looking to flesh out their fundamentals. They're the most complete repository of deck lists and results from regionals and YCSs online, and they've also got cube and draft infrastructure that's finally seeing use now that Yu-Gi-Oh! Players have come to the light of Limited. There's a good chance that any Yu-Gi-Oh! Content you see on YouTube has Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck's many tendrils somewhere within its DNA. So why not go to the source and improve your game, draft with friends, or just see what 11-year-olds are playing in their Blue Eyes decks this month? Head on over to YGOPRODECK.com. Now back to the video. With that, let's deal with Dragonmaid. Dragonmaid is a series of modular monsters with two forms. One, a sexy anime lady, and two, a sexy cloacad dragon. These monsters tag out for their monstrous forms in the battle phase, then return to a life of indentured servitude during main phase 2. In the past, they've facilitated a low-to-the-ground deck a la Salamangrade, which gets to their Omni-Negate, Xiao, then slowly accrues advantage against an opponent unable to afford their services. Unfortunately, like many of the so-called mid-range decks, this isn't remotely enough to be competitive in a format where even the most middling of piles can cram a couple of 4s into a full board plus layered interaction. Despite a complete game plan, it unfortunately looked like Dragonmaid would never get to take wing. Until now. In Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem, there are two new Dragonmaid cards, the main deck monster, Dragonmaid Churmba, Chamber's evolved form, and the extra deck monster, Ladies Dragonmaid. The former is not particularly interesting, it's a fine way to eke a little more advantage out of the best card in the deck, and it does come up in some game states, but Ladies where it's at. This contact fusion a la Nochio Drago is an E-Telly on summon and a fusion spell during your opponent's standby phase when it matters most. The short of it is any maid that gets access to its evolved form is now a one-card Xiao, so we're taking a page out of Live Twin's playbook and jamming the rest of the list with as many charmies and turn-ending hand traps as we can manage. Now, before we get into the card by card, I should mention the suite of spells and monsters we are not playing. The Fiendsmiths. The Fiendsmiths are right at home here and make for some powerful plays through interaction, but the jury's out on if they're absolutely necessary, and I feel like you're all sick of watching Lacrima make an appearance. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, 3 copies of Chamber and 1 copy of Stern. Her name's not Stern. Dragon fusion monsters you control can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Once per turn, you can discard this card to special summon a Dragonmaid monster from your graveyard or banishment, except Stern, and at the end of the battle phase, you can return this card to the hand to special summon a level 4 or lower Dragonmaid from your hand. We've got 3 copies of Kitchen and 1 copy of Tinkek, 3 copies of Parlor and 1 copy of Lore Power, and Bestial Magnamut searches the entire suite of monsters. Dragonmaid Hospitality specials a Dragonmaid from your hand or graveyard in defense, then allows you to send a Dragonmaid with the same attribute but a different level from your deck to the graveyard. This is most of the reason why this card is good. We've got 1 copy of Pot of Prosperity, and Songa and Kaiman also gets you a Kitchen Dragonmaid, so what do you know? We're playing 1 copy of Tidying, and then a whole bunch of non-engine. 3 copies of Fulos, 2 copies of Perulia, 3 copies of Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion, which I've really liked lately, 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, 3 Nibiru, Called by the Grave, and triple Infinite Impermanence in the extra deck. Striker Dragon, which is a part of almost all of your combos, Guard Dragon Pisty, double copies of Hieratic Seal, which is on almost every end board. IP and SP get you out of ridiculous jams, as does Typhon, 2 copies of Ladies Dragonmaid, made with 2 Dragonmaid monsters with the same attribute but different levels, and can be special summoned from your extra deck deck by banishing the above monsters, one from your field and one from your graveyard. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Dragonmaid from your deck. Chamber is protection. And during the standby phase, you can fusion summon a Dragon Fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling the materials from your field or banishment into the deck. We are going to be summoning Dragonmaid Xiao 9 times out of 10, which during the standby phase allows you to special summon a level 9 or lower Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard, immediately cashing in on that effect. When your opponent activates a card effect, you can negate the activation, destroy the card, return this card to the extra deck, and summon House Dragonmaid, which we are also playing. This is the Alt-Art. We're playing one copy of Philia Regis, which the OCG didn't get on time, but we got a little early, actually, and one copy of Chaos Star Source Dragon as well. In the side, we've got Artifact Lancia, Harpy's Feather Duster, Triple Tack, Triple Thrust, Mistaken Arrest, which I've been liking a lot recently, Crossout Designator, and Triple Solemn Judgment. So with that, let's jump into some games. Our first match is up against Punk, and whoever wins gets to keep the stamp. We're going first, and we have drawn a starter. We're going to begin with a copy of Parlor Dragonmaid. They're going to Ghost Ogre. We unfortunately have to call by that. We're going to use the effect of the Parlor to send a copy of Lore Part to the graveyard. Then afterwards, we're going to fusion summon a copy of Ladies Dragonmaid and trigger the effect of the Ladies in order to grab a Chamber. Chamber here is going to activate, which gets us a copy of Tidying. Then we can link these two off for a copy of Hieratic Seals. Let's use Hospitality to bring back this copy of Ladies, set to, and pass. Our opponent draws for turn, and Imperm in the draw phase. Miserable. Okay, no big deal. They're going to go for Wagon. That's their normal summon, which is great news for us. They're going to grab an Extreme Session. Afterwards, they'll use E-Telly to get into a copy of Ziyaman. We'll just go ahead and activate Hieratic Seal here to put that back in the grip where it can't be normaled again. And then we will summon a Magnemut whose effect we will activate. They'll go Almirage and shoot. That means we have to waste our Tidying, bouncing our Magnemut in order to give them back the Wagon. Unfortunately, they have an extender, and down comes the E-Telly for a Ziyaman effect. That's probably worth an infip to us, but their turn's not over yet. They are going to activate the effect of the Extreme Session, and then they're going to draw a card, go into the Fiendsmith line. They'll go Lacrima effect here in order to send a copy of Engraver, activate Engraver. We will use the Bastille that we put back into our grip in order to banish that. Then afterwards, they will pass turn. Whew, okay, not much to worry about. We'll draw for turn, and then, of course, in standby, we'll trigger the effect of our Lady's Dragonmaid. Let's go ahead and shuffle those two back for a Xiao, and I feel pretty good from this position. We'll switch everyone to attack and activate the effect of the Chamber in order to grab a Hospitality. They will droll, that's fine. We'll go Striker Dragon into Hospitality. Let's summon back this copy of Chamber and bin a copy of her Battle Form. We'll tag back into that, going into it as we go to battle phase, and this is well over lethal. That's how the deck performs on the play, but what does it do on the draw? Our second match is up against Gem Knight, and it looks like we've opened 4 hand traps and a 1-card starter. I'll leave an exercise to the viewer in inferring what that means our opponent's script looks like. They're going to start with a copy of Ash Blossom to contest our Foolos. Okay, we're going to have to play Yu-Gi-Oh! After all. Down comes Gem Armadillo. That's going to activate. They're going to go ahead and grab a copy of Hollow Core to hand. We will draw them here. Next, they're going to Hollow Core, send a copy of Fusion to the yard, and afterwards link off for a Phantom Quartz. Dispersion comes down. They're going to perform the Fusion summon, sending a whole bunch of guys to yard as they go for Rose Diamond. Then they'll cycle that sucker for a Neperim. We will Bell here. Then afterwards, they're going to go ahead and activate the Fusion effect, and that probably is my signal to fire off the Nibiru. Down comes the Rock. We'll give them a token, and they'll pass turn. Okay, Parlor in a Dream. 2 Parlors in a Dream, rather. We'll use the effect of the Parlor Dragonmaid to send a copy of Lore Power, and just like last time, we're going to go into a Lady's Dragonmaid. That's going to grab us a copy of Chamber Dragonmaid. We'll activate the effect. That is going to grab us a copy of Tidying once again. We'll go Striker Dragon into a copy of SP Little Knight to banish the token, and now that we've simplified the game state, I feel pretty good about this one. In standby, we'll trigger the effect of our Lady's Dragonmaid. They'll draw a card off with the Foolos, but that's completely fine. We'll bring out our Xiao, and they now have to play through a negate. We're going to bring back our Chamber Dragonmaid, which of course protects the board and grabs us a copy of Hospitality for next turn as they go for a Sen Engine. They'll activate the effect of the Sen Engine. That is a perfect Tidying target. Let's put that sucker back in the grip. Then afterwards, they're going to concede. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's on what else but Mitsurugi Raziel, and, well, it looks like they've opened no non-engine. Against Mitsurugi Raziel, that is sometimes a liability because they can play through a lot with engine. All right, we're going to go for Parlor into Lore Part, into Lady's Dragonmaid, into Chamber. We're going to trigger the effect of the Chamber, grab ourselves a copy of Hospitality, link off for a Striker, activate Hospitality, summoning back the Chamber, and bidding a copy of her monstrous form. Make a Hieratic Seal, set 1, and pass. Our opponent is going to begin in standby by allowing us to get to a copy of Xiao, and Xiao will trigger as well in order to grab back the monstrous Chamber. They'll lead X'd, and that just checks our entire board. We'll perform the negate, tag out for a copy of House, and then afterwards they're just going to be able to go Sword, activate the effect of the Sword in order to grab an Ice, overlay for Exciton Knight. That forces out our Infinite Impermanence, but now we are a sitting duck. They're going to go ahead and activate the effect of Habakiri. We are really going to have to use this copy of Hieratic Seal very intelligently. They'll go Saji, and then afterwards going to fire off the Mitsurugi Ritual in order to ritual summon from hand. They're playing the Night Sword Serpent, so that comes back, as does the Kusanagi. Thankfully, they have ordered it wrong, so we're able to bell that effect. Unfortunately, they are playing 2 copies of Ritual, so down comes Murakumo. They'll activate the effect of the Murakumo. We have to bounce here. They use the effect of the Murakumo. Fine, I will discard, and then afterwards we will lose just our copy of the Chamber form. We'll activate the effect of Seals in order to grab Parlor, and Parlor's effect in order to send a copy of Tidying as they go into Duo Drive. They're going to Duo Drive here, and then activate the Duo Drive for which we have no response. From here they can go Raziel Cross, and then activate the effect of the Cross to draw a card. After that, they're going to go for the Triple Tactics Talon off the top in order to shuffle back our last card as they finally perform their normal summon on ice. Let's go next. So it's time for game 2, and okay, this hand looks good. We've got a lot of cards that are really good in the matchup, and I'm just now realizing that's all we've got. So we're going to set a copy of Mistaken Arrest and pass. Woof. In the draw phase, we're going to fire off this copy of Mistaken Arrest. Our opponent's going to chain a Mitsurugi Prayers. Doing the tribute, we will Ash Blossom that, which forces them to basically do nothing. They're just going to go ahead and set 2 and pass. We'll draw for turn, and oh, thank God. We're going to go for the Parlor Dragonmaid, send a copy of Lore Power to the graveyard. We can go for a Lady's Dragonmaid, activate its effect to bring out a Chamber, and then afterwards we can go to the battle phase and get in for a fair amount of damage. In main phase 2, we're going to link off for a Hieratic Seal, then Hospitality back this copy of Lady's Dragonmaid, proceed to end step. Our opponent draws for turn, we'll activate Lady's Dragonmaid. They will activate Prayers, no big deal. We just know we are going to have to deal with Habakiri here. We'll shuffle a couple back and get a copy of Xiao. Kind of a weird position to have the Habakiri because they've already been through Saji, which means they're going to have to cycle it back through a weird Kusanagi situation, but regardless, they're going to lead Ext. Ext, of course, checks almost everything we're doing. We will go into the house here, no matter. Afterwards, going to special out the sword, activate the sword effect in order to grab a copy of Ice, go to the battle phase, threatening our copy of Hieratic Seal. We can use the seal and the house in order to do what we do best. That is, summon out the Chamber form, take 15, and then threaten a 4. Like I said, here's Kusanagi. They're going to trigger the effect of the Kusanagi for this copy of Saji, which they can then normal, then activating the effect of the Saji in order to grab themselves a copy of Ritual. Duo Drive comes down. They're going to use its effect. They'll activate the effect of the Duo Drive. That's probably a good enough time to Nibiru, but it does mean that they are going to get a little bit done. The Ritual can still activate here. They're going to have to send from hand because they're out of 4s, but Murakumo is a really good card. They're just going to go ahead for the Mitsurugi Mirror into the Habakiri, but thankfully this opens up an avenue by which we can Bestial away the Murakumo and maybe get back into this game. We'll activate Bestial, they will go 7th Tachyon, and then they will grab a node to hand. As they summon the node, pitch a card, and summon back this copy of Sword Raziel. Okay, we're going to have to deal with a detonator, but we're not out of it. The Magnemite will resolve. We'll grab this guy back, and then we'll draw for turn. Let's go for the effect of our Chamber form. We're going to trigger the effect of the Lady. We'll bring out a Parlor and go into SP Little Knight, targeting the Detonator. They will Detonator in response, but this enables us to clear the entire field. They'll Detonator once again, popping itself, and then at point of resolution, we're just able to normal summon a Chamber Dragonmaid. Our guys are pretty little for now, but not that big of a deal, because we can use Hospitality to bring back the Parlor, bin a copy of Lore Power, then activate Parlor to send a copy of Tinkek. We'll go to the battle phase and activate Sangen Kaiman in order to then summon a Kitchen Dragonmaid, activating its effect for a Tinkek. We'll go for the effect of the Parlor here, and then grab ourselves a Lady Dragonmaid, cycle out for her form, and cycle out for the Tinkek as well. We'll trigger the effect of our Chamber form to go into Kitchen, and our Tinkek to go into Parlor. In main phase 2, we can go into a Seal, and then overlay for a Typhon. They will Prayers here in order to summon back this copy of Kusanagi. Kusanagi is going to cycle back this copy of Murakumo, so they have access to it later. They'll trigger the effect of the Mirror and the effect of this Ame to grab the Mirror, then we'll use Typhon in order to give them back the Habakiri before setting 1, bringing back the SP and passing. They draw a pre-prep here, which is pretty funny. We'll activate the effect of Ladies, and they'll concede. Well, that was painful as all hell. Speaking of painful as all hell, my opponent in Game 3 has opened Sales Ban. They're going to go for Sales Ban. Okay, well, good news. We don't have Droll and Lockbird, so it's just a card that does nothing. They'll go Bonfire. We will Ash here. I think this is one of those hands where we just have to hope they don't have anything. Unfortunately, they do. This Triple Tactics talent gets them into action. They're going to go pre-prep into a Mitsurugi Mirror, into a Night Sword Serpent, into a Saji, into a Murakumo. That means that any future interaction we have is going to cost us dearly. They will go for the Mitsurugi Ritual into the effect of Mirror and the effect of Murakumo, so they can add as well as summon back this Habakiri. Then afterwards, they'll normal summon the Perulia to make Duo Drive, whatever works. They're going to use the effect of the Duo Drive to get X and Sword, then they will special out the Sword, activate its effect in order to grab Star, special out the X, overlay for Detonator, trigger Detonator, reset this copy of Twins, then bring out the Star so they can also end on a copy of Cross. Woof. Okay, I don't think we're beating this, but I'm willing to try. We'll draw for turn here. That's not good. We're going to go for Harpy's Feather Duster first and foremost, then they're going to activate Murakumo and Prayers in sequence. Wow. They're going to grab the Habakiri here and the Saji. We will discard a card so that it resolves. Then they'll activate both Saji and Murakumo to summon itself back. Okay, Let's go triple tactics thrust. We'll go for talent. We'll activate talent. Let's go for the take. They're going to detonator target itself. Unfortunately for us, there is a twins under there, which means the twins is going to enable them to bring back the detonator. Well, maybe we can still make this work. Let's normal summon the chamber into an SP. SP target the detonator. They'll detonator. We'll activate the effect of the SP in order to banish itself in the Murakumo. But we're kind of out of gas. We'll go hospitality. That's going to bring back the chamber and send a copy of her form. Then activate the chamber in order to grab tidying. We're going to make a Lady Dragonmaid. Activate Lady Dragonmaid's effect for a parlor and parlor's effect in order to send a lore par. But not very profitable here. We'll get in for 17 and 2. Lore par tag back into the parlor. This is just too few points of interaction to beat what I know my opponent has. We're going to go for the effect of the lady. They're going to go for the Murakumo. We'll go for the SP. They'll go for the prayers. We'll go for the tidying. Targeting the Murakumo in yard. That's kind of funny. And then afterwards, they will summon out the Kusanagi. From this position, we do get to resolve our effects. We'll go Xiao. But we know they not only have Ritual, they also have this copy of Mirror, so I don't know how we're going to be able to win the game. They'll lead with a Ritual. That is unfortunately worth a Xiao from me. We'll activate the Xiao, go into a House Dragonmaid, and then they'll follow it up with the Mirror, which enables them to make the Murakumo trigger its effect alongside the effect of the Habakiri, and we have to scoop. So we're back with the deck, and shoot, looks like we couldn't clean it up. Get it? Clean it up because of their maids? All right, here's the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. The new maid support rounds out some of the archetype's weak points. Lady's Dragonmaid gives the pure version of the deck multiple one-card combos and starters while also reinforcing the board. She also shuffles back material from the banished to fuse, so anytime you make Lady, even if she gets her summon effect negated, you can still summon Xiao on your opponent's standby. 2. Chamber is the only real multi-purpose card, but boy is she multi-purpose. She functions as an extender when discarded, summoned from the graveyard of banishment, and also reinforces your board if you put her on the field as she protects your Dragon Fusion monsters from being destroyed by card effects. And 3. The non-engine. 22 slots is unbelievable and more than enough to make targeted boarding decisions like specific Charmies. And the cons. 1. The ceiling is still really low, with very little you can do to fully extend into bigger boards without drawing 3-card combos. You can splash other engines, but the deck still only has the 10 1-card combos, and it uses a fair amount of engine cards due to how Lady Contact Fusion works. Bestials complement it the most, I think, alongside something like Dark End Evaporation Dragon, but even then, the deck isn't getting much ceiling, just a sort of repeatability. 2, the deck really struggles going second. It pretty much entirely relies on its non-engine to secure a line as the 1-card combos are fragile, and at that point you're relying on drawing Hospitality plus a name to be able to play through anything other than 1 negate. And 3, the Charmies are frustrating. While Perulia does nothing to you, you often can play in a Fuelos and give your opponent a draw 2 for them to face a negate and bounce, but the deck already puts up such a weak field that even if you draw multiple pieces of engine, you're not going to be able to put up anything that your opponent wouldn't be able to play into with a 7-card hand. Overall, yes, the deck is tidier, but it's still not going to make a mess of the metagame. Expect to see the deck around, just not often at top tables. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are made possible by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid a lot of money to be mentioned at the end of this video. Those people are Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, Anthony S. Sierri, APK Pearly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Cool Guy Bakura, Cool Name, Damon O'Neill, Dark Rebel XYZ, DJ Elefante, Emiliano Deverio, NB Adams, Fabrizio Petroli, Felix, Garrett Ran, Hergalicious, John Paradise, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lucas Rosas, Luis Hernandez, Matthew M. Derezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Pombo, Prez, Project Mercury, Rants Are My Thing, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Shifter.mp8, Sly Ninja 43, Soul CLG, Troy Says By Erasure Is Gay, Vortex, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, and Yuki Kazami. I couldn't have done it without you.